A tent sliced open from the inside on a frozen mountainside. A town of hundreds who danced until they died. Footsteps in an attic, days before an entire family is found perished by a killer who then lived with their silence. We've all seen horror movies. We watch them for the thrill, for the jump scare, and for the comfort of the off switch. But the real stories, the ones that inspired the genre, don't have an off switch. They are the historical black holes, the unsolved mysteries, and the moments of mass madness that defy explanation. These events are pure, unfiltered nightmare fuel precisely because they were real. Today, we're digging into 5 unnerving historical events so terrifying, they prove that the greatest horror writer of all time is human history. Our first nightmare begins in 1959. In the frigid Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 experienced ski hikers, all students, set off on a grueling expedition. They were tough, they were smart, and they should have returned. They didn't. When the search party was finally sent, what they found wasn't just a tragedy, it was a terrifying, illogical riddle. On the slope of a mountain, ominously named Dead Mountain, they found the hikers' tent. It had been violently sliced open from the inside. But why would they cut their way out of their only shelter? The mystery deepened when they found the first bodies. 5 of them were scattered down the slope, over a kilometer away from the tent. They were in their underwear, or only partially dressed, despite the deadly cold. And they were all shoeless. It was as if they had fled their tent in a blind, sudden panic. But what could scare 9 veteran hikers into the frozen dark without their boots? It gets worse. The remaining 4 bodies, discovered later in a ravine, carried a different, more chilling story. One person had severe facial trauma. The others had massive internal injuries. The medical examiner was stunned. The force required to cause such damage was far greater than what a simple fall could inflict. Yet the bodies showed no external marks of a struggle or impact. The hikers were victims of an invisible, crushing force. To this day, there is no answer. The official Soviet investigation closed the case, stating only that the hikers died from a compelling natural force. Imagine this. You're walking through town, and you see a woman dancing in the street. You smile, but then you notice she looks wrong. Her face is grim, her body is jerking, and she's not stopping. This was the scene in Strasbourg, France, in the summer of 1518. It all started with one woman, known as Frau Trofia. She stepped into the street and began to dance, silently, with a terrifying manic energy. She didn't stop. For 6 days she danced until she finally collapsed. But it was just the beginning. Within a week, 34 others had joined her. Within a month, the dancing plague had infected over 400 citizens. This wasn't a celebration. People were dancing against their will, their bodies held hostage by an invisible puppeteer. They were crying for help, but they could not stop moving. The city authorities decided the dancers needed to get it out of their system. They built a stage and hired musicians, turning an unfolding tragedy into a public spectacle. But people were dying. They danced until their strength gave out. They danced, one by one, until they succumbed to exhaustion and heart failure. Historians still debate the cause. Was it mass food poisoning, or a case of mass psychogenic illness, collective hysteria brought on by famine and stress? We don't know. But the image of an entire city dancing itself to death is a horror that no film has ever truly captured. Our next story is the one that inspired the stranger in the house trope, because for the Gruber family, it really happened. The scene is Hinterkaifeck, a remote, isolated farmstead in Bavaria, Germany in 1922. The horror began before the tragedy. Weeks earlier, their maid quit, claiming she heard unaccounted-for footsteps in the attic. The father, Andreas, found a strange newspaper from Munich in his yard, one he had never bought. He also noticed a set of footprints in the fresh snow leading to the farmhouse, but none leading away. He told neighbors he heard noises in the attic. He found his house keys missing. And yet, he never called the police. On the night of March 31st, the unimaginable occurred. The neighbors noticed the family was gone. The mail piled up. The chimney, usually always smoking, was cold. 4 days later, a search party went to the farm. What they found was a scene of unfathomable violence. The family's 6 people in total had been lured to the barn and killed, their heads fatally injured by a heavy farming tool. But here is the nightmare fuel. The perpetrator didn't leave. Police determined the murders happened on Friday. But for the entire weekend, someone was still occupying the house. The cattle had been fed. Food had been eaten in the kitchen. The perpetrator had been lighting fires and sleeping in the warm beds, while the victims' bodies lay nearby. The killer was never found. Someone lived in their walls, watched them, ended them, and then quietly stayed in their home for days. Sometimes the monster isn't a man. It's the earth itself. In 1986, in a remote region of Cameroon, West Africa, Lake Nyos was a local jewel. It was a still, blue lake resting in the crater of an extinct volcano. On the evening of August 21st, villagers heard a deep rumbling sound from the water. What rose from the lake wasn't a monster. It was a silent, invisible cloud. Lake Nyos is one of only 3 known exploding lakes in the world. For centuries, carbon dioxide from the volcano below had been building up immense pressure beneath the water. That night, something a landslide, small quake pulled the cork. The lake erupted, releasing a massive, invisible cloud of gas that quickly moved through the valleys, tragically overwhelming the communities and thousands of livestock in under 15 minutes. A survivor described waking up the next morning. He came down the hill to find his entire village silent. People were in their beds in their doorways by their cooking fires. They hadn't been burned or crushed or cut. They were just stopped forever. They died where they stood, with no time to even sense what was happening. When the first responders arrived, they found a silent world. The lake that gave them life had become a silent, indiscriminate killer. Our final story is one of pure, inexplicable body horror. It's the story of a man whose body was a prison of insatiable, inhuman hunger. His name was Tarrare. Born in France in 1772, Tarrare was a medical anomaly from birth. He was always starving. He had a shockingly wide mouth, and his body was always hot to the touch, sweating profusely and smelling foul. His parents couldn't feed him. He ate his own weight in food every single day. They kicked him out. He became a street performer, eating strange and dangerous objects to a horrified crowd's delight. He was seen consuming live animals. He eventually joined the French Revolutionary Army, but his rations were not enough. He was hospitalized, where he became a source of terror. Doctors tested his limits, giving him massive portions, but his hunger was endless. The most disturbing incident occurred when a small child went missing from the hospital. Though the staff had no proof, they immediately suspected Tarrare due to his unnatural and desperate craving for flesh. He was chased from the hospital and vanished for 4 years. He reappeared in 1798, dying of disease. The doctor who performed his autopsy was horrified by his diseased and distended internal organs. Tarrare was a walking, talking, starving void, a man consumed by an emptiness that could never, ever be filled. History is not just dates and dead kings. It's a haunted house, filled with stories that are more unnerving than any fiction. The most terrifying monsters aren't hiding in the shadows. They're staring back at us from the pages of our own past. If you love digging into the true, dark, and unnerving stories from history, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss a new nightmare. So, are horror movies real? No. But the horror is. It's in the logic-defying panic of the Dyatlov hikers. It's in the helpless, fatal dance of the Strasbourg plague. It's in the breathing in the attic of Hinterkaifeck, the silent gas from Lake Nyos, and the inhuman hunger of Tarrare. These stories aren't just scary. They're a chilling reminder that the world we think we know, the one that's safe, logical, and under control, is a fragile, thin veneer. And the real nightmare is that it all really happened.